You're listening to episode number 34 of the Indie Film Tribe podcast with me, your host, Angela Matamocha. Welcome. Hi there, good people. Hi, hi, hi. Thank you so much for joining me once again here at Indie Film Tribe. Today, I have a super duper awesome lady on the line. She is a writer, she is a director, she is a producer, and she is also the founder and CEO of Burn One Productions. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Ashley Eberbach. Ashley!
Hello, how are you?
Welcome, welcome. How are you? I'm so glad we're finally able to do this.
No, it's great to link up. We were having trouble scheduling it because you're a busy lady.
And you're a busy lady. For all of you listening, Ashley just finished up with her director's reel. She just was working on a documentary. Like every time we try to schedule this, she was working on a project, which is one of the reasons I really wanted her on because she has so much to offer in way of experience, not only as a writer, director, and producer, but also as a first AD and a lady first AD. Okay, so Ashley, let us jump right into it. First things first, what is it that you love about filmmaking, about being a producer, a writer, director, all of it? Why do you do this? Why do you love it?
I think I have always loved challenge, and as most people know that have made a movie, it's a constant challenge, and each project is something new. So for me, it's always been that it's a career path that I can keep evolving and get different things handed to me without getting bored. I think it'd be impossible to get bored working in the film industry. And it's a chance to do different stuff, I think that's important, is to have some diversity on your plate.
That's one thing that is so interesting about you. You do music videos, you do short films, you do documentaries. I feel like you have no sort of limits to the type of projects you want to create. Can you speak on that a bit? That's so awesome.
Sure. That really stems from a while back when I was working in art department and then script supervising and all these jobs outside of film school. I just wanted to get on set. But I was really young, and I kind of one day said, if I don't start calling myself a director, then I'm really not one. And the best thing that sort of made me leap into it was that I just started directing anything. And it was like, if someone has a job, I'm going to figure out how to do it. And that transformed into creating a production company because it was a blanket entity to put all these projects in. So, it started with doing really low budget music videos, but then I got a reel together. I had enough work to start getting bigger projects, and I think for anybody trying to direct, it's really, you just got to start doing anything that you can get your hands on, and then go from there. So my body of work started eclectic and has stayed eclectic, and I think that's part of my personality. I don't want to just do one thing. I want to do it all, but
When you first started, did you first start as a director or a writer or producer, like your first couple of projects?
Well, I was always doing directing on the side, so it sort of turned into producing as well, because I think when you start meeting a lot of people and you're doing your own stuff, they kind of want, to grab you and have you help with them. So it was always producing and directing. I would say it'll probably boil down to, at some point, I would like to be writing still, but I would also like to direct other people's scripts. I think that's kind of a cool challenge. So from the beginning, producing, directing, and then writing kind of fell into it because it's easier when you write your own stuff to get it made. So
That's interesting. Speak on that. I can imagine what you're talking about just from my own experience, but for you, why is it for you easier to direct something when you've written it yourself? I'm just curious.
well, the last film that I did was a high fashion robot sci-fi action movie, and that was my
Yes.
last sort of and I wrote it because I have always been intrigued by science. I'm sort of a science nerd. I don't know how many people really know that about me, but so for that project, it was just like, if I don't write this, no one really can. You know, we all have our own ideas. We all have something that's very unique going on in our head. And for the beginning of a directing career, I think it gives you a voice off the bat. So I always suggest, like, you know, if you have something that you've written down, shoot it. So it kind of comes with the territory in a sense. And I think that from an indie standpoint, when you have a script, you actually have something in your hand. So if you have an idea, that's nice. But when you have a script, you've got a movie. And that's an important process. That takes the longest, I think, in pre-production, is just making sure you have the best script, because it's hard to write, you know. Not everybody can just knock one out like some of those writers can. At least I know I can't. But it gives you something tangible.
Yeah, no, I completely, yeah, an idea is one thing, but actually getting it out of your head onto a freaking page, it's like something you can hold. Yeah. How did you
be good? Isn't that so hard?
I know. How did you learn to write? Did you take a class? Did you just start writing? What was your process like?
I've always been into writing. When I look back it's so funny when you can look back at your childhood and go, yeah, I guess this was all leading up to my career path. You know, I used to write down little scripts and make my friends shoot stuff in my living room. We had a really bad video camera as a kid. I still have some tapes of full movies I edited in camera. To write little short stories and try to, you know, submit them to little school books or things, you know, different compilations. So I've always been a storyteller, but it did take a little polishing in film school and some community college classes I even took after film school for writing, just basically to get in a room with other writers and have someone tell you how bad or good your work is, because, you know, sometimes you might think something's great and everyone hates it, or the thing that you think is terrible people love. So it's a good way to see what, you know, the response is for writing. I think classes are great.
It's interesting. For those of you that are listening, I first became aware of Ashley's work when I was doing the programming at Action on Film Festival for the Women in Film. And she had submitted 2 films. One was a film that she produced, and the other was the film that you're speaking of right now, Axiom. You wrote and directed it. And what I thought was so cool about both of your projects, both of them have very strong female protagonists. Is that something that you do on purpose? Can you speak on that? Because both of those films were phenomenal.
Thank you. Well, you did a really good job of curating that. It was fun to meet all the other lady filmmakers and be in a room at a festival that was celebrating that. It was definitely a unique, fun experience. So good job on that. I do tend to write female characters. But I have actually had the opportunity to direct male leads and stuff. But when I'm writing, I think that it just I tend to gravitate to female leads. And I think that both of those movies were action films.
Yes.
So it was important for me to make the leads female. And as we see now, you know, these movies were made prior, but as we see, Wonder Woman blew up, you know, and that genre, I'm surprised that it hasn't been directed by too many females before that, you know, because obviously there's an interest. And I think that Axiom and Morgan Pickett's Charge, they were both, the attention we got at film festivals and when people saw it was pretty much, you know, whoa, wait, there's a bunch of women, you know, in an action movie. I want to see this. So there is a demand for it, and I'm glad that you caught on, because we did do that on purpose. We did go for strong female leads.
No, and just, you know, watching all these films, you know, and of course that's the hardest thing to do sometimes when you're getting so much great content, but just that's what, like, blew my mind, were like these women were just like badasses, you know, and they were both so well done. And Axiom just visually was just freaking insane. It was insane. It was fantastic. I loved it.
I do have to give a shout out to the actress of both films. Hannah Landberg is She inspired me as well because I've known her since the beginning of making my company. We like met on Craigslist when we were both we met at a job interview, and it was like insane fate, but she can physically do like anything. She can ride a horse one-handed with a fake gun and all this stuff. So I was like, I'm also going to just utilize this source that I have with this amazing actress. So that actually helped a lot. We had Aquila Soul and Kaylee Victoria Rose that are just like literally can handle anything you know put in their way. So that was also a plus.
When you were writing Axiom, did you have some of these ladies in mind? Were you already thinking like, oh, I know who I'm going to put in this role?
Yeah, in fact, while creating that script, and my producers totally, quote unquote, love me for this, I just kept adding. I was like adding characters right and left because the cast has I think it was about 62 people. So I think everybody in that movie, there was like almost like in creating it, people coming to mind, and then we did cast a lot of it.
Wow.
But some of the leads were referred to me, and some were already people that I'd worked with and saw what they could do. So
that was just such a solid project, and I think such a great vehicle for you just to show your style and your just creativity. It was just so creative and so cool and a great story, and then at the end, and her dad, not to give everything away, but it was just so well done. Yeah, all these years I can completely still remember it.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, hopefully it'll be a 3-part feature soon. We can make it a trilogy, like that goal for that one was always to think huge and do whatever we can in the meantime. It was like, one of these days it's going to be as big as like a Batman trilogy, but we just got to start with the short for now, We got to start somewhere.
That was fantastic. I want to switch gears real quick. Yeah, we're talking about these films that you produced, wrote, and directed, with strong female protagonists. And just last week, I believe you were telling me that you were working on a documentary with not so many females. Will you tell us about that?
I've been working on a documentary for a 90s rap group, so I can't really get into who they are because of the NDAs we signed, but I'm in the production team of a really fun 90s rap group, and we've been following them around for 2 years. I've just been really helping the director, Tim Newflang, and the producing team at Silver Sail with Tanner Beard. They are just so fun to work with, and it's, like you said, switching gears is a great word to use, because to go on to a project where you're just like, documentaries are the craziest thing ever. You could be sitting there and nothing happens, or all of a sudden it's a flood of excitement and things you need to capture immediately. And that's been a learning experience and has really inspired me as a filmmaker to want to do a documentary myself that I can direct, because there's so many stories out there, and documentaries have made a comeback. Not that they've ever been away, but Netflix has really made it more viable to see them, and people actually know them now because they're on the Q screen, whereas before it was like you had to almost hear about it word of mouth, which I think is really cool now about documentaries.
That is so true. There's just maybe a handful of filmmakers that would have their documentaries like released in theaters, worldwide. So yeah, you would have to go to like a Lemley or artsy theater to go see a documentary. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Now they're available for everyone with just a click of a button. Good old Netflix, hey?
Well, and I think for filmmakers out there that are, that's a really cheap median. Like if you're not a 90s rap group, that's a little more complicated financially, but, because they're like everywhere in the United States we're following. But if you have an idea and you have a camera or access to a camera, you can create a story and you don't need that much of a budget. So I always say, like, to anybody, even if it's a small, like, start small and it'll get big overnight, So maybe not overnight, maybe 10 years, but hey, whatever,
Yeah, no. And is that the project that you've been working on editing? I think you were editing something 2 weeks ago as well.
Yeah, so actually, I edit quite a bit. I was working on set and doing a lot of assistant directing work, which you had mentioned. It's like half my IMDb is assistant directing too. So I definitely enjoyed that. But editing was a way to make money and be at home and be able to like edit for other people and then have a little bit more time to work on my projects. Because as you know, on sets, it's like your whole life becomes that project. And if it's not your project, then you could just be working on sets forever. So assistant directing was cool, but editing has been able to give me quite a bit of freedom in my schedule. So I think 2 weeks ago I was editing a sports sizzle reel for a company.
Wow. This is a thing about you that just blows my mind. You edit and you're just like all this stuff that you've done. Like I can't even imagine. I think for me, I would feel intimidated to pick no honestly though, to just work on something, a genre that I've never worked on, or a type of content, a sizzle reel. Like I wouldn't even know where to begin. I just think that's incredible.
Well, I think it stems from like the survival techniques of living in LA for this long. I've been freelancing for 15 years, since I'm 33 now, and I was 19 essentially. So to even just pay bills, you kind of acclimate to what's around you. And I never thought I would say I would be an editor professionally even 3 years ago. So, it's a matter of just kind of navigating through the waters of what you want to be doing and how you can get there,
That's so smart. That's so smart, because I think there's so many people, and you can speak to this, I know, that live in LA and have, their dream of being a director or writer, but because they have to pay rent,
Right.
they end up working a full-time job, right? And what I love about what you're doing, it sounds like you're working within the business. You don't have some job over here that has nothing to do with what you're passionate about. How are you able to do that for 15 years as a freelancer? That's incredible.
There's definitely been some fun moments,
Woo!
some close calls, but I remember one day, I think it's like just keep doing it. Like, find a way. Even if you have to, like, now I'm settled, but it took a while, it took years of yes, yes, yes to any PA job, if I'm not, I would go from directing a movie to PAing a film in the same week. And it was like, if you have any ego about it, you're going to shatter inside, because you'll be picking up garbage one day and then telling everyone what to do the next. So that's the biggest hurdle, I would say, is like, keep your ego in check and just keep saying yes, There was a day I got a job at Origins at the mall because I couldn't find work. And as I was driving to my first day, I got a call to go to a movie. And I was like, so my only advice for that is just find a way to keep working in movies. And if you have a real job, that doesn't mean you can't be doing it too. If you have a 9-to-5, shoot something on the weekends so you don't need a job anymore,
Right.
The path wavering. So the work's out there. You just got to find it.
And do you find it's because, and I love what you said in the very beginning of our conversation here, that at the beginning for you, you just said yes, 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 yes. So do you feel that's why you've been able to sort of settle, if you will, because all those yeses over the years accumulated to where now people are going to you and saying, Ashley, can you do this? Because they know you now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would be working art department jobs and then shooting music videos on the weekend where I barely made anything. Or at some points, I think I even probably put money in the project because I just wanted it to be a little higher quality than what the person could afford. And each time I would shoot something like a commercial, web, whatever, the next person sees that, and then you get referred, and while I was just cutting my reel this afternoon, it was like, wow, I forgot about some of these projects back in the day, because you go, oh, but that job got me this job, and then I remember I met this. when I look at my friends out here, we're all connected through like projects that I made with their friend and their, so that would be that would be how that happened.
So is that how work comes to you now, as referral?
Yeah, I did kind of look around at management and stuff, but I just feel like the way that I've done it, maybe I'm a control freak, but I need to be like in control of my destiny until I have so much going on that I can't, because, so that's actually always been my technique, but I started my production company in 2005, so that I could blanket and put all that work into something legally. So that helped a lot too, was that when you have a website, when you have a company, an LLC, and a brand, people hire you more.
Interesting.
Credibility, it's definitely harder. So even if it takes years, you just have to start collecting that body of work.
This is the second time I'm hearing this, or maybe the third in this series of interviews of the last couple of weeks. Body of work. Body of work.
Yes. And you don't have to be happy with it, but you do have to keep doing it. Because I look at some of these early on videos, and like I can't even watch them anymore, but somebody will watch that video and hire me. And I'm like, that video? So don't, like, never going to be completely happy with your work. I think every artist, once you finish something, it's almost like, oh my God, a part of me either like was created or died. I can't decide. And so I watch artists, I watch a lot of musicians actually in particular, not release stuff. They like get over it before they release it. They're too self-conscious. And my suggestion is just put it out. You just, unless it's horrendous, then maybe reshoot it. I don't know, but put it out.
I am really hearing that right now. I'm just finishing my first feature, and it's taken forever because, we didn't have financing. So it takes forever when you don't have any money. And it's taken so long that I am a different filmmaker now than when I first started. So putting it out now, it's like, I mean, of course, I'm so proud of it and I love it. But I can understand the musician that's like, all right, I'm over this now. I'm on to something different. I know more now. I want to create something even better now, But I think that's probably the curse of every artist.
I think money is the biggest roadblock in any artistic profession. Maybe just in general in the world. If everyone had money that deserved it, right, wouldn't we all be? But I mean, like I said, you can learn from because most of the time they're not mistakes, they're just like where you were level-wise.
Yes.
Where you are after shooting it. So if you just keep shooting stuff, eventually you're going to reach, that level that you've been working on forever. And I'm sure your feature is great. You're just sick of watching it. It's like once you've seen a clip 800 times, of course you're going to be picky about something,
Which is why I am just so in awe of you that you edit. I don't know how editors do it. Oh my gosh. It's so tedious. It's so technical. Man.
I had an editor for years, and I still use him for all my visual effects and just calling him for like emotional support.
Yeah, I bet.
Most of my narrative, because I think editing is so subjective, and it's so strange sometimes to like go back and watch something you edited the night before. You almost like the next morning could have a totally different vision. So it is one of those things, and it's definitely nice to have a team of. I always feel like when I'm editing something, it's a team effort because you need so many kind of like sounding boards and opinions. But it's definitely tedious. Sure.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, in my experience, as an actor, just as a filmmaker on set, I've worked with a handful of first ADs that are women. The majority of first ADs I see are men. What is that like for you? I'm just curious.
I think first ADing is probably it's a really tough job because in pre-production, you're overwhelmed with scheduling paperwork and, movie magic stuff, and call sheets are like the biggest pain in the butt of all time, especially on long-term projects. I mean, it's like, oh. But I think with being a female first AD, I always say, like, when you just walk in the room with kindness, calmness, and a loud ass voice. I mean,
I love that. Kindness. Repeat that.
Kindness, calmness, and a loud ass voice.
That's awesome.
I think that first ADing, I've always found that being a woman first AD has actually probably helped with my assertiveness on set, because I can, when I need to, I feel like women have, well, all people have compassion, but women have a way of speaking to people that sometimes I think is a little less demeaning on sets than men. And it's one of those jobs where I have the opportunity to be very assertive and be a little different than what I normally am in life, because if you know me on a set that I'm ADing, you're like, oh, she's just like this bossy, like ready to take, but when I'm in real life, I'm pretty chill. So I think that having a strong female voice on set can really, carry the day and get it done on time, and organization, all these skills that come into play with ADing. I think the key is also that the abrasiveness that sometimes male first ADs bring, women don't seem to have. And that's a generalization, because
of course, yes.
Working. But I do find that I can go over to a grip and be like, you seem upset. Saying it. So I think I kill them with kindness when I'm ADing, but as soon as they're out of line, I'll yell.
That's awesome. You seem upset.
Yeah. Are you okay? And it's, you don't see too many male first ADs saying that, but some do, so.
Huh, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. What's
What's
that?
Organization as an AD is key.
What is the thing that you are, I mean, obviously you have so much going on. What is it that you're just super excited about right now? Is there a particular project or something that you're writing? Is there something that you're really stoked about?
Yes, I am actually writing my feature that's a thriller set in Michigan. And I've been working on this script for a very long time. It doesn't need too much money, which is awesome. So I've been working and perfecting this script for a bit, because just learning from my mistakes in the past, just making sure that this script is so solid that we can just walk in and, knock out the story. I think writing is so important. So that's my most exciting project in the future, because it'll be my first feature film that I've directed, produced, and written. When you say
that you've been writing this or working on this for a long time, what is a long time for you?
The idea came to me years ago, and I put it on the back burner. But in the last year, I've been writing a lot, and it's the first draft of it is done, but it's like every day I get a new idea. It's going back to the 90s thriller format. So it should be a fun one. It's kind of Seven meets Fargo. Little less Seven.
Little less violent, did you say?
Yeah, it's a little less violent than Seven. Seven, I always say Seven, and then I'm like, but not quite as gross. And I'm directing a series of infomercials, and this is actually a fun one because it's for men's undergarments.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a waist trainer belt for men, and they hired me, and I was like, yes, of course, this is awesome. So I'm doing eight infomercial spots coming up. So I'm really excited about that because I'm actually writing them as well. So I've watched like every infomercial ever made, pretty much.
How did they find
And
you?
they're all. I did a commercial for the owner's other company like 4 years ago. And he called me up and said, I got a new thing. And I was just like, this is the most fun project infomercial. I mean, if you watch one, they're pretty funny.
Oh, yeah, they're a whole thing.
They're a whole thing. It's been a big learning curve to understand the marketing. So again, it's just like a challenge, a new thing. Simplicity is key, but it's also like we're doing some fun stuff. We're going to have a dance video to it. It's going to be ridiculous.
You just mentioned a word that I just wanted to ask you about. You said marketing. You said you've been learning a bit about marketing. When you are working on your projects, especially the ones that you write, is that something that is in your mind, in the back of your mind at all? Is the marketing of your project? I'm just curious.
Marketing has changed a lot through the years. It's so much more complicated to figure out, but it's actually more available. With the internet, with social media, we can go on a list forever at this point about marketing and the internet. And I used to, fixate and focus on so many aspects of it that have changed, like YouTube hits and like subscribers and stuff. And now that's more if you just have a web series. Like now it's like Instagram. You can chase this stuff forever, but I think the key to marketing is good content. You just got to have good stuff, and eventually someone's going to see it. So I haven't been too focused as much on marketing as maybe I should be, but I find that that's its whole other beast. It's its own thing. So when projects come up, we have a marketing strategy with every project I do, but it's always a learning curve. There's always some new technology. There's some new project program. Now even Snapchat has ways to have ads. I mean, I never thought that would be the case when that started. So, evolve with it.
Ashley, I just want to acknowledge you for being such a force in this field. And honestly, this is one of the reasons I've been like hounding you for the last couple of weeks to speak with you, because I'm literally just so amazed and impressed by what you do and your ability to do so many different things. I just think that is outstanding. Congratulations on just doing what you do and just keep going. God, I love it.
Thank you. Well, right back at you. I'm always so impressed. It's like really refreshing and always nice to see other women that are strong women doing great things for the industry. So I just appreciate you asking me to be on this. It's really cool.
No, it's just so great because, when we met years ago, it was in such a flurry with the whole excitement of the festival and all. And that is the good thing about social media. You're able to actually see what someone is doing. So I see what you're doing. I'm like, gosh, I got to reach out to her. Gosh, I got to reach out to her. Because I see what you're doing online and it's just so impressive. So, gosh, thank you so much for taking the time.
I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Before we jam out of here, I just have to ask, do you, Ashley Eberbach, do you feel that you were put on this planet at this particular time for a specific reason? Or for you, do you feel your being here is just sort of random? Just curious.
I really feel that I was put on this planet to make movies. Being behind the camera is something that I've been passionate about for so long, and I enjoy being in charge of a room. I enjoy having a voice. I enjoy the reaction of my work, and I think that uplifting people and bringing people into that circle is something that I'm here for. So yeah, I'd say so.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm hammered by other people too, so it's like
For For those of you that are listening and don't see the video, you can definitely check it out on YouTube. But I remember when I first saw you, Ashley, because you're so striking, I just assumed you were an actress. So it was such an extra treat to learn, like, oh my God, no, she's the producer of that film. She's the writer and director of that other film. Freaking awesome. Man, it was just fabulous. What?
I can't act at all, so you'll never see me in any. There might be like one movie floating around, but I'll never tell you where it is. Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's very sweet of you, and it's great to walk into a room and be a female filmmaker. And right now is the time. So I suggest any woman wanting to pick up a camera or has a story to tell, or if they're an actress, even find a story and make it yourself. This is definitely a good time in history for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if people that are listening want to, learn more about you or maybe want to hire you as an editor, a producer, a director, or a writer, all of these things you do, where can they learn about you? Where can they hire you at?
You guys can go to my website at burnoneproductions.com. or ashleyeberbach.com. Both of those are my websites with all my work and my information, and you can look at my videos and movies and stuff.
And are you looking for people to follow you on Twitter or Instagram, if so?
Oh yeah, my handle for all that is burn1pro, so it's BURNONEPRO. And I would love followers, and I'll follow you back and like all your stuff.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you so much, Indie Film Tribe, for hanging out with Ashley and I today. Until next time, bye.
Bye.